Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the LDM show. I'm here with Dawood. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Today we're going to be talking about Islam and slavery. So let's go straight into it, Prav.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, you know Islam, there's a misconception about Islam, that Islam promotes slavery.
Yes.
And even there's certain verses that are used by Orientalists, by atheists, by Christians, that allude to that, Islam promotes slavery. So as Muslims, how do we tackle this problem?
Subhanallah, that's a topic that, is really easy to rebuttal because there are historical and miracle evidence to it.
Right.
The miracle evidence is the Quran itself.
Okay.
Historical evidence is hadiths.
Yes.
And other accounts of, slavery in general. Slavery, what a lot of people don't understand, is a thing that always has been around. The Greeks was a slavery society.
Yes.
The Roman was a slavery society. And America,
Yes.
the Atlantic slave trade, was a slavery society that depended on slavery.
Yes.
Although with Islam, there are certain rules. Islam came to abolish slavery.
Islam came to abolish slavery. Right.
And in a manner that humans couldn't do it. For example, the encouragement of freeing slaves. In Surah Nisa, Surah 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordains people to free a slave when you kill someone innocently.
Right.
There's no other way to redeem yourself but to release a slave. And another example, if you break a fast intentionally, in order to redeem yourself, you free a slave.
Okay.
And there are many other examples, of course, but we don't have much time. Another thing, for example, slaves under the Islamic rule have the right of a testimony.
Right.
If you compare it to Roman slaves,
Yes.
they never had these rights.
So they had no rights.
They had no rights.
But Islam provided rights for
Right,
slaves.
So, exactly. So if you look at the trend and the encouragement that the Prophet ﷺ and the Quran keeps reminding you
Yes.
of the importance of freeing slave and the reward. For example, the reward was so great that it wouldn't matter whether you're Muslim or not. If you free a slave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
This is amazing. And one more thing which blew my mind was when, imagine your father,
Yeah.
right? And as you have a child, right? And that child mistreats you. How would you feel?
Feel upset.
Really upset, right?
Disappointed.
You raise that child
Yes.
for 20, 30, 50 years,
Yes.
and it disappoints you and disrespects you. Could you ever pay your dad back?
Could the child pay the son back?
The father back?
Father back?
Yeah.
No, definitely not. No.
No, of course not.
Absolutely not.
How much money do you want to give him?
Hmm.
I can't. There's a solution though, by freeing a slave.
Ah.
You can't repay your mother, but you can repay your dad. The only solution how you do that is by freeing a slave.
Right. Okay.
And the scholars say why? It's because, and look how beautiful the message of Islam is, to abolish this practice that was taking place prior to Islam. They say that the moment you free a slave,
Yes.
you give life to someone.
Right.
The moment your dad and your mother, sleep together, they create a new life.
Yes.
That's why it's the equivalent of that. Subhanallah.
So Islam actually liberated the slaves, gave them
Exactly.
rights, and
Yeah.
actually abolished slavery.
Yeah. I mean, Aisha radiallahu anhu, she was a woman.
Yes.
And she liberated 80 slaves.
Wow.
Abdurrahman ibn Auf, one of the richest, he liberated over 1,000 slaves.
Right.
Thomas Jefferson had 300 slaves and only liberated 5
Ah.
out of 300. You know what I mean? So you can see the comparison here, and you can really see that if you compare it to the abortion movement in America,
Yes.
and to the abortion movement with Islam, that differences in worlds.
Yes.
And the only reason is not because there were Muslims or there were. It's because it was sanctioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So basically, as a conclusion,
Yeah.
we can see that during the Arabic period, basically slavery was a common.
It was a common thing.
It was a common thing, and then
And yeah,
when Islam came, it came to liberate the slaves, free the slaves,
Yeah.
and throughout the Arabian world, the hot slaves were just being
Yeah.
freed and released.
yes.
But in contrast, the Western world, were still keeping slaves
Yeah.
and still, as like you said, you mentioned in the beginning, the Americas,
Yeah.
you know, they had a massive, you know, slave trade.
So the main message that I just want to give here for people who have contentions with slavery, well, the Arabs started this. It is not the Arabs that originated from, or ancient traditions, you know, dealt with it.
Right.
But Islam was the key thing that gave a rule on how to treat slaves.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about it is that the intention behind these rules was to get rid of it.
To remove it,
Yeah.
abolish it completely.
Abolish it in a gradual process.
That's beautiful. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.